So what does this mean really for both political parties in one of the most heated election cycles yet? We're asking progressive radio host Leslie Marshall and former George W. Bush advisor Brad Blakeman. Good to see you guys.
Thanks.
All right, Leslie, if this nomination process really drags out, who does this help the most? I mean, who is it actually going to galvanize? Voters on both sides?
I have to tell you, I just heard if I can say, Trish, your rant, and I think I'm going to vote for you. I mean, I just loved your rant on that.
You and I don't always agree either, Leslie. So that's saying something. But no,
right.
I think that, you want a full Supreme Court.
Yes, and honestly, I think what you just did is going to echo the sentiment of a lot of voters because, at the end of the day, this is the Supreme Court, and even though you may not have the same ideology, have voted for, or even like the person sitting in the White House, this is what this person is elected to do. At the end of the day, that really affects an individual voter and where they truly feel that their vote counts.
So here's what I got to ask you, though, Leslie.
Could hurt themselves.
Would you be saying exactly that if this was a Republican president that stood to make the nomination?
Absolutely, and let me tell you why. Democrats have put their money where their mouth is in the past. When Ronald Reagan was in his final year of his presidency, the Democrats were in control of the Senate, and that he made a nomination in that last year, and the Democrats confirmed it. And so we've done it before. We can do it again. It's the right thing to do.
I think that is in part, though, because of who was in the Oval Office at that time. Ronald Reagan was a guy who was respected by both sides equally. I don't know as we're in that kind of time right now, in part because of the leadership we've had. Let me share with you, Brad, something that Chuck Schumer said on one of the weekend shows about the importance of actually making this nomination. I'm going to contrast this with something he said back in 2007. Let's play the first clip here. Here he is over the weekend with George Stephanopoulos.
This kind of obstructionism isn't going to last. And, we Democrats didn't do this when we voted 97-0 for Justice Kennedy in the last year of Reagan's term.
After voting down Justice Bork and Justice...
Yeah, well, but we had nominations. And that's the point here.
Okay, and yet here he is back in 2007, basically making the point that if any of these justices die while George Bush is still in office, he's going to have a bit of a fit. Here he is.
We should not confirm any Bush nominee to the Supreme Court except in extraordinary circumstances.
So is this kind of one of these situations, Brad, where it's just, whatever particular party happens to be in office, they're going to be following a certain script as opposed to saying, OK, we're going to do what's right for the country here?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly why in this election cycle we are seeing so much angst by the American people. Look, Washington doesn't work. And this is a prime example where the Republicans come out and Judge Scalia had just died and basically said, Mr. President, don't send us anybody because we're not going to work on it. I think that's wrong. And that's like in the Old West where they would hang somebody and say, oh, then we'll give them a trial. Look, the Constitution is clear. The president has the right to appoint. Why would he not appoint? That's one of the most important jobs the president has, not only for his legacy, but for the court itself.
See, so I'm encouraged to hear you say that. I think that's a very honest thing to say. And what I'm frustrated by right now is the lack of honesty in this process and the fact that, Leslie, it just seems to always get boiled down to politics and two sides not liking each other.
Yes, especially in an election year. But I think this is where all three of us agree that it is within the president's right and responsibility and obligation to do this for the best interest of the American people. We are talking about extremely huge landmark cases in areas of affirmative action, abortion, going forward campaign finance reform. There are just so many issues that we can't just leave, in my opinion, and I think many Americans would agree, a lower court's ruling. The highest court in the land shouldn't just be symbolic. It should actually be put into action, and we can't have that without a full court. Yes,
all right.
Absolutely.
Leslie and Brad, I'm going to see you guys in a little bit because I have a lot of questions for you about your reaction to the GOP debate, the most epic one in terms of contentiousness that we've seen thus far, I think. Anyway, guys, I'll see you shortly.